The chamber of the Galactic Council was a place of fear. It was built of black stone and silver light, standing like a mountain in the alien capital. Thousands of voices filled the air, voices of creatures from hundreds of worlds. Some hissed, some growled, some whispered with sharp tongues. All of them had come to see a single event, a human's death. At the center of the hall stood a man in chains. His name was Ambassador Daniel Hale, the chosen voice of Earth. His wrists were tied with glowing cuffs that burned his skin, but he refused to lower his head. His eyes moved from face to face, reading only hatred, amusement, and cruelty. He had come here with words of peace. He had come to ask for friendship, for respect, for a place among the stars. Instead, the council had decided to make him a lesson, a warning to all who thought humans deserved a voice. A shadow fell over him as the High Speaker, a massive alien with wings like black glass, rose from its throne. Its voice cut through the crowd like thunder. Humanity stands guilty. They fight wars. They spread violence. They are unfit for the galaxy. The punishment will be death, so that no race forgets the cost of defiance. The hall roared with approval. Some pounded their claws against stone. Others clicked their jaws together in laughter. For them, this was not judgment. It was theater. Daniel's voice broke through the noise, steady and loud. You call this justice? You fear us, and so you dress fear as law. You think fire will break us. But hear me, my death will not be silence. It will be the cry that wakes my people. The crowd answered with cruel laughter. But some delegates shifted uneasily in their seats. They saw no fear in his eyes, only fire. The guards pulled him forward, toward a platform made of dark metal. A circle of crystals surrounded it, pulsing with red energy. It was an ancient punishment, older than many of the Council's worlds. Execution by flame. The irony was bitter. They accused humans of being violent, and yet they chose the most violent death. Above him, thousands of floating orbs recorded everything. The execution was being broadcast across the galaxy. Billions of eyes watched as the human was chained in place. The High Speaker lifted its staff. Light the fire. The crystals hummed. A ring of blue fire burst into life, curling upward like living snakes. Heat washed across the chamber. Some aliens leaned forward eagerly, waiting for screams. Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. He thought of Earth. He thought of his wife's face, of his children's laughter, of the blue oceans and green forests of home. When he opened his eyes again, they burned brighter than the flames around him. The fire touched his legs. Pain rushed through him, but he stood tall, his voice carrying over the crackle. Humanity, do not bow. Do not forgive them. Do not forget me. The flames climbed higher, wrapping him in their cruel embrace. His voice broke, turning into cries of agony. The chamber shook with the laughter of 1,000 alien throats. They watched as his skin blackened, as smoke filled the air, as his body fell to its knees. But even as he burned, even as his voice weakened, his last words rang out. You have lit a fire, but it will burn you too. Then silence. The fire consumed him, leaving nothing but ash. The guards scraped what remained into a metal tray and carried it away like refuse. The council cheered. They believed they had shown their power. They believed humanity would now tremble, broken and weak. But not everyone in that chamber laughed. A few delegates sat in silence, troubled by the look they had seen in Daniel's eyes. It was not the look of prey. It was not the look of fear. It was the look of a predator waiting to strike. Far away, on Earth, the broadcast ended in screams and tears. Families fell to the floor in grief. Soldiers smashed their fists against walls. Children cried into their mother's arms. The whole planet felt the pain of one man's death. And deep beneath the Earth, in a hidden war room lit with cold screens, leaders sat in silence. No one moved for a long time. Then a single voice spoke. They think they ended us, but they have only awakened us. The words spread quickly, whispered from soldier to citizen, from city to city. The anger of billions began to rise. Humanity did not bow. Humanity remembered. Humanity waited. In the alien capital, the chamber was empty again, cold and quiet. But the echo of Daniel Hale's final words lingered in the air. as if the very walls carried them. You have lit a fire, but it will burn you too. The council thought the story was finished. But it was only the first page. The flames had already turned to ash in the council chamber, but their echo was not lost. Across the galaxy, the broadcast traveled faster than light, carried by streams of data into every corner of known space. On Earth, it appeared without warning on every screen. Phones, towers, city walls, even the smallest home receivers. Humanity saw everything. The image was sharp and merciless. Ambassador Daniel Hale, chained like a criminal, swallowed by fire while alien voices laughed. His screams echoed across every living room, across every battlefield, across every place where humans still believed in peace. At first, there was silence. An entire planet froze, staring at the impossible. Then came the sound. A mother's cry, a soldier's roar, a child's scream of confusion. The pain of one man became the pain of billions. In the capital city of New Geneva, the streets filled within minutes. Citizens poured out of apartments, offices, and factories. They carried screens in their hands, showing the moment of the burning again and again. Strangers who had never spoken to each other now shouted the same words. They burned him alive. They killed our voice. They must pay. In a small house on the edge of the city, Daniel's wife collapsed to her knees. She clutched the broadcast device, her fingers trembling as the final words of her husband replayed. Do not bow. Do not forgive them. Her young son, barely 10, stared at the screen with wide eyes. He did not cry. He clenched his fists. Far away, in underground bunkers buried beneath mountains, the United Earth Council gathered in secret. Generals, scientists, and leaders of once divided nations sat around a long black table. No one spoke at first. The silence was heavy, broken only by the hum of machines and the faint echo of Daniel's last words playing in the background. Finally, General Armitage leaned forward, his jaw tight. They burned a diplomat alive. On broadcast, they wanted the galaxy to laugh at us. President Varga's voice was low but steady. They thought fear would control us. Instead, they have awakened something far stronger. A scientist slid a data slate across the table. On it were blueprints long hidden from the public, designs of weapons, fleets, and engines of war, projects whispered about but never revealed. For decades, humanity had built in silence, preparing for the day they might need to rise together. That day had come. The Wrath Protocol, the scientist whispered. It was meant only for extinction-level threats. If we activate it now, there is no turning back. The room went silent again. Every leader knew what that meant. Humanity had been divided for centuries by borders and old grudges. But now, Daniel Hale's death had erased those lines. No more east or west, no more north or south. Only one word remained: human. Meanwhile, the streets of Earth grew louder. People gathered in the millions, holding signs, chanting Daniel's name, demanding action. They wanted revenge. But more than that, they wanted dignity. They wanted the galaxy to know that humans did not forget, and humans did not forgive. In orbit, the first ships began to move. Black hulls rose from hidden docks on the far side of the moon. Massive engines lit up like silent suns. For years, they had been secret, cloaked from alien eyes. Now they awakened, one after another, like predators stirring from long sleep. The broadcast kept playing. Aliens across the galaxy laughed at the primitive humans, who lost their only voice. They mocked the tears and cries they saw on Earth's streets. But they did not see what was coming. They did not see the factories running at full speed, the soldiers lining up, the families whispering Daniel's words as if they were sacred scripture. Do not bow. Back in New Geneva, Daniel's son stood in the crowd with his mother. The boy raised his small fist toward the sky. They will pay, won't they, mother? She looked at him, tears still falling, but her voice was steel. Yes, child. They will pay, and the stars will remember your father's name. As night fell over Earth, the planet did not sleep. Fires burned in the streets, not of destruction, but of unity. Old enemies embraced as brothers. Nations long divided shared their weapons, their ships, their secrets. In the command bunker, General Armitage pressed his hand against the activation screen. The Wrath protocol unlocked with a sound like thunder. Across the globe, silos opened, shipyards lit up, and fleets awakened. Humanity's heart had been broken, but from the ashes, a new power rose, angrier, stronger, and unstoppable. Above, the stars looked peaceful, but soon they would tremble. The council thought they had silenced a man. Instead, they had given him eternal voice. The council thought they had broken a people. Instead, they had forged an army. And in the quiet of the night, Daniel Hale's last words echoed once more, carried across every channel, every city, every home. You have lit a fire, but it will burn you too. The galaxy laughed. On alien news networks, commentators mocked humanity. They replayed the flames of Ambassador Daniel Hale's execution with cruel delight, saying humans were finished. In council halls, delegates sneered that Earth would now crawl back into its small blue world and hide forever. They were certain, but they were wrong. Beneath Earth's oceans, deep inside secret bases carved into mountains, and on the dark side of the moon, something ancient stirred. For decades, humanity had built in silence. They had studied the galaxy, learned its weaknesses, and planned for the day when survival meant more than peace. That day had come. The Wrath Protocol had been activated. Factories that once produced civilian ships switched overnight to war production. Entire cities pulsed with the thunder of industry. The noise of machines became the heartbeat of Earth. Space elevators carried armored plates and weapons into orbit. The stars above, once calm, now reflected the light of fire and steel rising from below. In the command bunker, General Armitage stood before a massive hollow display of the galaxy. Red circles marked enemy worlds. Blue paths showed hidden human fleets moving quietly into position. His voice was steady, but his eyes burned. For centuries, they called us children. For centuries, they called us violent animals. Now they will see. Now they will remember who we are. The fleet commander beside him nodded. When do we strike? Armitage turned toward the screen showing Daniel Hale's last words. Do not bow. Do not forgive them. His answer was sharp. Now. In the dark of space, the first wave of ships emerged from hidden slipspace gates. These were not the clumsy, outdated vessels the Council believed humans owned. These were black warships, built with engines that roared like storms and weapons that glowed brighter than suns. Their hulls were carved from alloys unknown to the galaxy, tested in silence, perfected in secret. The crews were ready. Men and women sat in armored cockpits, their faces calm, their hearts filled with fire. None of them had forgotten the broadcast. None of them had forgotten Daniel Hale. Every soldier carried his last words etched into their armor. Do not bow. The alien patrols never saw them coming. In the Zorith system, 3 council outposts guarded a wormhole gate. They laughed when they saw human ships appear. Primitive craft, they called them. But the laughter lasted only seconds. The first human salvo tore through their shields as if they were paper. Explosions painted the void red. In less than 5 minutes, the outposts were gone, burned into silence. The galaxy felt the shock. Reports spread faster than light. Human fleet destroys council defenses in minutes. The words rattled through alien governments, through palaces and parliaments, through war councils filled with fear. Some laughed nervously, saying it was impossible. Others whispered the truth. Humanity had awakened. On Earth, the news returned to its people. For the first time since Hale's death, the world erupted not in sorrow, but in pride. Crowds cheered in the streets as they watched the council outposts burn. They held signs with Hale's face, shouting, "For Daniel! For Earth!" In Daniel's hometown, his wife and son watched silently. The boy clenched his fist. His father's death had not been in vain. His father's fire now burned in every ship, in every soldier, in every human heart. But humanity's leaders knew one victory was not enough. In the bunker, President Varga's voice was calm, almost cold. They laughed as they burned our diplomat. We will answer with silence. The silence of their fleets turned to ash. She pointed to the hollow map, where dozens of red worlds glowed like targets. We strike until they beg. We strike until the council falls apart. We strike until every star remembers our wrath. General Armitage saluted. It will be done. The galaxy began to tremble. Alien traders whispered fearfully of human ships appearing in the dark, vanishing just as fast. Council soldiers deserted their posts, refusing to face the predators from Earth. Entire colonies began sending desperate messages to humanity, begging for peace, offering secrets and weapons if only they would be spared. But the humans did not stop. For them, it was not about conquest. It was about memory. The galaxy had to remember Daniel Hale. The galaxy had to remember the day they set fire to peace and awoke something far worse. And so, in the shadows of space, the human fleet spread like wildfire. Systems that once laughed at Earth now burned with fear. Worlds that mocked humanity now whispered prayers in the dark. The wrath of humanity had awakened, and it would not rest until the Council itself was on its knees. The stars of the Velar system were calm. Its twin suns burned golden light across alien colonies, and the Council fleet floated lazily in orbit. Soldiers on those ships were relaxed. They laughed. They drank. They mocked the reports about human attacks. To them, Earth was still nothing but a small, backward world. One officer smirked at his crew. Humans? Predators? Nonsense. One battle means nothing. They'll hide again soon. But before he finished his words, the stars themselves seemed to tremble. The void split open. From the darkness came human warships, black and silent, sliding out of slipspace like shadows. Their hulls carried no bright banners, only sharp symbols etched in steel. They did not broadcast warnings. They did not send words. They came with silence. The Council fleet laughed at first. The commander barked orders to teach the primitives a lesson. Bright alien ships turned their weapons toward the intruders. They expected panic, retreat, begging for mercy. Instead, they met wrath. The first human salvo lit up the system. Beams of white-hot plasma cut across the void, slicing through alien shields as if they were made of glass. Missiles followed, their engines glowing red as they twisted through defenses with terrifying accuracy. One by one, the proud ships of the Council exploded into burning fragments. The alien commander's smile turned to horror. What kind of weapons are these? But his voice was drowned by alarms. His ship cracked apart in a ball of fire, scattering his crew into the void. The humans did not cheer. They did not gloat. They fought like predators. Efficient, silent, merciless. Every strike was precise. Every move was calculated. To the galaxy, it looked less like war and more like a hunt. On Earth, the battle played live. Billions of humans watched as Council warships, once thought untouchable, were torn apart like paper. The crowds roared. Soldiers raised fists. Families cried with pride. In New Geneva's main square, Daniel Hale's face glowed on every screen. Beneath it, his last words echoed. Do not bow. Do not forgive them. And the people answered as one. Never. Back in the Velar system, the first strike grew more brutal. Alien colonies screamed for help, sending frantic distress signals across the stars. But no help came. The Council fleets were scattered, unprepared, overconfident. They had never believed humans could strike so fast, so hard. On the ground, alien civilians watched in terror as human dropships pierced the atmosphere. Black metal wings tore through the clouds, engines roaring like thunder. Troops in dark armor descended, their eyes glowing through helmets. They did not burn homes or kill innocents. They destroyed only military targets, moving with ruthless precision. One alien soldier tried to rally his troops. They're just humans. Stop them. A human marine stepped forward, his voice cold. Remember Hale. His rifle spoke, and the alien line collapsed. Within hours, the Velar system was lost. The Council's banners were torn down. Their ships were wreckage drifting in silent orbits. On the surface, human flags rose for the first time on alien soil. General Armitage's voice carried across the battlefield, sharp as steel. This is the price of fire. Let the galaxy watch. Let them learn. And the galaxy did watch. From distant worlds, aliens sat frozen in front of their broadcasts. They had laughed when hail burned. Now the laughter was gone. Fear spread across stars like disease. Delegates whispered in council halls, their voices trembling. They are not supposed to be this strong. They were only one world. What if we cannot stop them? But the truth was already clear. The council's fire had created something far greater. Humanity had turned grief into wrath, and wrath into war. Back on Earth, the United Council of Humanity gathered once again in the underground bunker. President Vargas stood before the holomap, red enemy worlds glowing like targets. Her face was calm, but her words shook the room. Velar was only the beginning. Every world that cheered Hale's burning will face the same. We will not rest until the Council itself kneels before humanity. They thought us weak. They will now learn the truth. General Armitage nodded. The truth is simple. Humanity bows to no one. In the quiet of the stars, the wreckage of Velar floated like a tomb. Fires burned across the alien colonies, but among the ruins, one symbol remained, Daniel Hale's name carved into steel plates, left behind by human soldiers as a warning. The Council had set one man on fire. Now, humanity burned entire systems, and the galaxy trembled at the sound of their first strike. The smoke of Velar still drifted in space when the news reached the farthest corners of the galaxy. Entire fleets destroyed, colonies occupied, human banners flying where Council flags once stood. At first, the aliens refused to believe. They called it lies, human propaganda, tricks of editing. But as reports poured in from frightened survivors, denial turned into fear. In the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, silence replaced the usual noise of arrogance. Delegates who once laughed now whispered nervously. Screens showed images of black human warships moving like shadows, striking with precision and then vanishing into the void. The word predator spread from tongue to tongue, from species to species. They are supposed to be primitive, one delegate hissed. Primitive races do not destroy fleets in minutes. Another replied, trembling. The High Speaker slammed his clawed hand against the table. They are only one world. They cannot fight the galaxy. But deep inside, even he felt the cold truth. Humanity was not fighting for conquest. They were fighting with rage, and rage had no boundaries. On the world of Dralos Prime, a council governor stood before thousands of citizens, trying to calm them. His voice boomed through loudspeakers. The humans will not come here. They are too far. The council will protect us. But before he could finish, alarms screamed across the city. The sky lit up with fire as human ships cut through the clouds. Troop carriers descended like falling meteors, engines burning red. Panic spread like wildfire. The governor's last speech ended in silence, buried beneath the thunder of explosions. Within hours, Dralos Prime fell. Human soldiers raised Hale's name on banners above the governor's palace. Across the galaxy, people saw the footage, and the galaxy trembled. On Earth, the mood had changed completely. No longer a planet of sorrow, it had become a planet of iron. Factories worked day and night. The sound of forges, hammers, and engines filled every city. Families sent their sons and daughters to join the fleet, not with fear, but with pride. Every child learned Daniel Hale's last words as if they were sacred scripture. Do not bow. Do not forgive them. Do not forget me. His face appeared on flags, on walls, on the armor of soldiers. He had become more than a diplomat. He was now a symbol, a martyr whose fire guided the wrath of humanity. The council tried to respond. They sent fleets to corner the humans, but the fleets never returned. They sent spies to learn human strategies, but spies vanished in the dark. They sent propaganda across the stars, calling humans monsters, but the words sounded weak against the sight of burning council warships. Alien civilians began to whisper dangerous thoughts. What if the humans are right? What if the council is the monster? Small rebellions sparked on distant worlds. Entire planets refused to send soldiers to fight humanity, fearing it would bring death to their homes. For the first time in centuries, the council's control began to crack. Inside the hidden war bunker on Earth, President Vargas stood before the holomap, which now showed red turning into black worlds falling one after another. Her voice was steady, calm like ice. Every strike breaks them. Every victory shakes their throne. They will soon turn against each other. When fear spreads, loyalty dies. General Armitage nodded. We've seen it already. Some delegates send us secret messages. They want to betray the council. They want to survive. Varga's lips curved into a thin smile. Then let them crawl to us. Let them beg. Humanity does not need slaves or servants. We need the galaxy to know one thing. When you burn one of us, you burn yourselves. In the council chamber, the High Speaker gathered his aides. His voice, once proud, was now filled with cracks. We cannot let them rise. If humanity continues, the council will fall apart. An aide trembled. High Speaker, the council is already falling apart. The truth echoed in the silence. Worlds once loyal to the council now refused to send troops. Alliances cracked. Fear had spread too far, too fast. Humanity had become more than an enemy. Humanity had become a storm. Back on Earth, Daniel Hale's wife stood with her son on a balcony, watching human fleets leave orbit. Dozens of warships glided silently toward the stars, their engines glowing like fire. The boy's voice was small but strong. Mother, will father's death be remembered? She looked at him, her eyes wet but her voice unshaken. Yes, child. The galaxy will never forget. They thought they burned him to silence us. Instead, they gave him an eternal voice. Every strike is his voice. Every victory is his fire. Above them, the stars shone cold and distant. But to the galaxy, they no longer seemed safe. Each one might carry a human warship, hidden, waiting. The galaxy trembled, not just because of humanity's strength, but because of their resolve. They had been mocked, chained, and burned, and yet they rose stronger than ever. The council had created its own nightmare. And nightmares, once awake, do not sleep. The galaxy was breaking apart. Worlds that once shouted loyalty to the council now whispered in fear. Some sent secret messages to Earth, begging to be spared. Others rose in rebellion against their alien rulers, inspired by the fire of humanity. Everywhere, the same name was whispered, Daniel Hale. But humanity did not forget who had given the order to burn him alive. The council high speaker, along with a handful of ministers, had laughed as Daniel screamed in the fire. They had turned his death into a spectacle. And now, humanity hunted them across the stars. In the Drean system, the High Speaker hid inside a fortress world surrounded by fleets and shields. He believed he was safe. He believed no human could reach him here. But one night, the stars around Drean fell dark. Human warships cut through the defenses with ruthless silence. Missiles streaked across the void. Alien ships exploded in burning light. Within hours, the fortress world lay in ruins, its shields shattered. On the surface, human soldiers stormed the palace. The High Speaker tried to escape through hidden tunnels, his claws clattering on the stone floors. But a single spotlight froze him in place. A voice, cold and sharp, echoed through the hall. Remember Hale. He turned to see them. Human Marines, armored in black, eyes glowing red beneath their visors. They advanced without hesitation. The High Speaker fell to his knees. For the first time, the most powerful voice of the council trembled in fear. The captured leaders were dragged across space in chains, just as they once dragged Hale. But this time, the broadcast did not show fire. It showed justice. On Earth, a vast hall was prepared. Billions of humans and aliens watched the trial live. The accused council leaders stood behind glass walls, their voices shaking, their arrogance gone. Across from them stood the United Council of Humanity, judges and witnesses, soldiers and citizens. President Varga spoke first, her voice calm but sharp as steel. You burned a man alive in front of the galaxy. You laughed as he begged for peace. You thought it would silence us. Instead, it gave us wrath. Today you will face judgment. Not from one world, but from all. The aliens tried to argue. We were protecting the galaxy from violence. One cried. You humans are dangerous. You would have destroyed us. Another shouted. The crowd hissed, and then a voice cut through the chamber. A boy's voice. It was Daniel Hale's son, standing beside his mother. His small hand pointed at the accused. His eyes, though young, carried the same fire his father once had. My father asked for peace. You gave him fire. You called him dangerous, but it is you who destroyed peace. Today you will answer. The hall erupted in thunderous applause. The trial lasted hours, but the result was never in doubt. The evidence was shown again and again. Daniel Hale chained, Daniel Hale burning, the council laughing. The galaxy had already seen it. Now, they saw it as a crime, not a show. The sentence was delivered. Not execution, not fire. Humanity did not burn them the way they burned Hale. Instead, they stripped the council leaders of every title, every protection. They were exiled to barren worlds, left nameless and powerless, their empire shattered. It was a punishment worse than death, because while death silences, exile humiliates. And now, every alien race looked upon them not as rulers, but as disgraced cowards. When the judgment ended, President Varga addressed the galaxy one final time. Her voice was strong, echoing across every star. Humanity will not rule with cruelty. We will not burn prisoners. But we will never forget. Every world must know. We bow to no one, we forgive no murder, and we will strike with justice if wronged again. The message spread like fire. On distant worlds, alien citizens cheered. Some whispered that perhaps humanity was not a monster but a protector. For the first time in centuries, hope began to grow where fear once ruled. That night, Earth lit up with celebration. Fires of grief turned into fires of pride. People filled the streets, holding banners of Daniel Hale, singing songs of his name. His widow stood on the balcony with her son. Above them, fireworks painted the sky with burning light. The boy looked up at his mother. Father was killed by fire. But tonight, we light the sky with fire for him. She smiled through tears. Yes, child, but this fire is not pain. This fire is memory, and it will never die. Far across the galaxy, in cold exile, the fallen council leaders watched the celebration on hidden screens. Their hearts filled with rage, but also despair. They knew their time was over. Humanity had taken their throne of fear and replaced it with something far stronger. The galaxy trembled not just at human weapons, but at human unity, human justice, and human wrath. Judgment Day had come. The council was gone. Its leaders were exiled, its fleets broken, its palaces in ruins. But the galaxy did not return to peace. Instead, a silence spread across the stars. A silence filled with fear and awe. Every world asked the same question. What will humanity do now? Some expected conquest. Others expected slavery. Many feared extinction. But what came was something different. On Earth, the United Council of Humanity gathered for the last time in their hidden bunker. The room was filled with soldiers, scientists, and leaders from every nation. Above them, the hollow map of the galaxy glowed with countless stars. Once, they were painted red with the Council's rule. Now they were empty, waiting. President Varga spoke slowly, her voice heavy with the weight of history. The Council believed fire would silence us. Instead, it gave us unity. They believed fear would control us. Instead, it gave us strength. The galaxy is watching. What we do next will decide not just our fate, but the fate of every race. General Armitage's jaw tightened. Some demand conquest. Some want revenge beyond what we've already taken. Varga looked at him, her eyes steady. Wrath brought us here, but wrath alone cannot keep us here. The galaxy must know we are not destroyers. We are survivors. We are builders. And so humanity did something the galaxy never expected. Instead of burning more worlds, they rebuilt them. Instead of enslaving alien species, they gave them food, medicine, and protection. The same soldiers who had crushed fleets now guarded the weak. The same ships that destroyed colonies now carried supplies to the hungry. The galaxy watched in confusion. One alien leader whispered, "They could have taken everything. Why did they give back?" The answer came from Daniel Hale's son, who stood at a ceremony on Earth, speaking before billions. His voice was young but filled with fire. "My father died in flames. They thought it would kill his dream. But humanity will not build an empire of fire. We will build an order of strength and justice. No one will ever burn again. The word spread like light through darkness. But even as peace began to grow, humanity never let go of its wrath. Across the galaxy, black warships still patrolled the stars. They carried no banners of conquest, only a single symbol, Daniel Hale's name. Whenever trouble rose, whenever an alien world dared to repeat the crimes of the old council, the humans appeared. Their fleets arrived like storms, silent and merciless, a reminder of what fire had awakened. Some called them guardians. Others called them predators. But all agreed on one thing. Humanity had become the balance of the galaxy. On Earth, Hale's grave stood on a hill overlooking the sea. It was not large, not decorated with gold or jewels. Only a stone with his name, and the words carved deep. Do not bow. Do not forgive. Do not forget. Aliens from 100 worlds came to visit. They laid flowers. They brought gifts. They whispered prayers in languages never heard on Earth before. A diplomat who once came seeking peace now stood as a martyr uniting species under his memory. His widow often sat by the grave, her son beside her. One evening, as the sun set in golden light, the boy asked, "Mother, will the galaxy always remember Father?" She looked at the horizon, where human ships crossed the skies like shadows of giants. "Yes, child, they will remember, because the galaxy fears our strength. But more than that, it respects our wrath." Far away, in the cold exile of barren worlds, the fallen council leaders watched from broken shelters. They saw human fleets patrol. They saw alien worlds submit willingly. They saw their empire replaced not with chains, but with order. One whispered bitterly, "We burned a man, and in doing so, we burned ourselves." The galaxy was forever changed. Where once the council ruled through fear, humanity ruled through memory. Every star remembered the fire that killed one man, and the storm that followed. Every race remembered that when humans were wronged, they did not beg, they rose. Humanity had no throne, no crown. They carried no scepter. Their power came not from titles, but from unity, from justice, and from wrath. And so the final message echoed through the stars, written in history, whispered across generations. They set a human on fire, and in doing so, they set the galaxy on fire. Humanity's wrath became eternal.